Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. All about nutrition from your favorite dietitian. Everything you need to digest in your mind. Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. Making you healthier one bite at a time. With Tony. Woo.
Hello, and welcome to the Tips with Tony podcast. I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time. In this episode, we are going to talk about 10 questions to ask yourself when your diet, quote unquote, fails. And I put that in quotes because your diet didn't fail, you didn't fail, really, the diet failed you. Okay? Because most of the diets out there are not meant for you to succeed. They want you to come back. A lot of the programs are out there really just care more so about your money than they do the results. And that's unfortunately, I wish it wasn't true, but it's pretty true. The diet industry is a $72 billion industry. $72 billion. Okay? Not a million. A billion, 72 of them, okay? It's a really, really unfortunate, it's just like, it's crazy to me. It's mind-boggling to me. So it's really rare that you're going to have a diet that's really going to be, there's no diets out there really that's a one-size-fits-all approach. However, I will say that there's probably parts of certain diets or programs that you've done that part of it really works well for you, right? Not all of it, but part of it. And so what I do with my clients when I work with them one-on-one is I use that information as feedback. We kind of go through and we talk about what have you done in the past and what was it that really you liked it. It felt good to you. It wasn't super stressful. It was feasible. It was possible and it felt good. And then what were the parts that were just like, this was too hard and made it unable to stick to. And we go through all these questions, the 10 questions that I'm going to ask you, that I want you to ask yourself, is what I kind of go through with my clients when I'm on that discovery call with them, or even on their very first call, or even their second call, or even throughout the program when things kind of come up and they want to try something new. I ask them, we go back to, have you ever tried something similar to that before? Was it beneficial to you? Did it help in the long run? Did it make things worse? Did it make things better? I truly believe that all of our experiences are feedback. And as much as I want to kind of save you from doing a lot of the one-size-fits-all approach and the fad diets and the juice cleanses and the detoxes and like these, crazy companies that are just like claiming that their way is the way and the only way, as much as I want to save you from that, I really can't rob you of that experience. I personally had to go through a lot of that stuff to get to where I am today. So, and here's another thing too. I use this example in my book, which I'm so sorry. If you've listened to my podcast 1,000 times, which I thank you for coming back, you probably heard me talk about this book that's coming out for over a year, because literally I've been writing it for over a year, and you probably know all about it. But if you're a new listener, the book is about the parallels between dieting, dating, and romantic relationships, and it's an extension of my TED Talk. So if you haven't seen my TED Talk, go to my website, www.tipswithtony.com/speaking, and you can see my TED Talk. All right. So anyways, if you ever dated, which I'm sure you have, then you probably have had some experiences where a family member, a friend, a coworker kind of warned you about a guy or a girl. They're kind of like, you know what? They're bad news. Like maybe a fun time, but not a long time, right? Or you might, he might wine you and dine you, but it kind of ends there, right? And you can kind of get warned about things and you're just like, you know what though? Especially when someone tells you not to do it or not to date someone, you kind of like want to do it more. It's like when someone tells you can't have this cookie or you're not allowed to have carbs, like somehow you now want it more. Like you don't want to be told what to do. You're an adult, right? So it kind of triggers that, child in us, and it makes us want to do it more. So when something is considered off limits, we desire it. And so if someone tells you, you know what, this guy or gal is just not good news, you kind of want to know why. Like, so what I'm saying is as much as I want to be that person who kind of warns you that a lot of these things out there are probably not going to get you to where you want to be and the ultimate, thing that you're striving for, which is balance in your eating habits, confident of your food choices, confident in your body. Like chances are that the things that you're doing that you're finding on the internet, or what what Karen's doing, your friend's doing, whatever, like that's not going to get you to the root and really heal your relationship with food and really help you develop healthier habits and behaviors. It's probably just going to be something that you're like, maybe I should have listened to Barbara, my friend, whatever, but it is what it is. So, and the reason behind this is because sometimes we really need to feel it rather than think it to decipher what's best for us, okay? So sometimes you really need to feel it rather than think it to decipher what's best for us. So like I said, I can warn you, but sometimes going through the experience and having to go through it multiple times to finally get to this place where you're just like, I don't know why I keep staying stuck in this diet cycle and I'm just tired and I'm frustrated. Maybe the last time will finally be the last time where you feel 100% ready and convinced to really go after something that is really more long-term and sustainable and isn't just kind of getting a quick fix and like putting, a Band-Aid over a wound rather than like really, really fixing and healing that wound. Okay. So all that to say, I want to make sure that I'm supporting you in whatever part of your journey that you're at. So if you've just done I don't know, and I don't want to just like name names because some of them are helpful and other them are not. Some are more helpful than others. But say you feel like Weight Watchers failed you, or you failed it. If it's like Noom, if it's what's the one? Optavia. Not a fan of Optavia. But, hopefully maybe it teaches you something. So we'll see. Maybe it's counting your macros. Maybe it's we've tried intermittent fasting. So it doesn't even need to be a diet per se, but maybe it's just like a strategy in which you go about your health. And so either way, if you kind of do it and you feel like it's no longer working, or you're tired of it, or you're frustrated, or you feel like you failed, and I'm putting that in air quotes again, I want you to be introspective, be observant, and use these 10 questions to help you through this. So if you're driving or walking, if you're driving, put this on pause and wait till you're home, or listen to it and then listen to it again later so you can write this out. This is actually going in my book. So when the book is out, you'll be able to see it in hard copy. But there's also actually on my Instagram, I'm going to post this tonight. I'm recording this Thursday morning. And I'm going to be posting this tonight about kind of the 10 things you can ask yourself. So either way, get a pen and paper, open the notes section of your phone. Let's go through these 10 questions I want you to ask yourself when your diet, quote unquote, fails. So that way you can be more successful the next time around, whether you choose, I just don't want you to choose the same exact version of the diet you did before, because it's not going to work, but maybe with some tweaks, it may work, right? Because once again, we're going from that one size fits all approach to a more individualized approach. And obviously it's easier to do this when you have a nutrition professional and guidance working with you all the time. But I know some of you might not be able to do that. Maybe you're not working with me. Maybe you just, are not ready for that. And really you just want to create your own version of eating for you. This is how I want you to do that, okay? So we're going to go through these 10 questions, okay? So the first question, would you do it again? Which leads into the second question, which is, if you were going to do it again, what would you change? So meaning there's probably parts of it that you liked, probably parts that you didn't. What do you need to change to be able to either adhere to it better or to reach your goals better? Like, what would you change to make it maybe a little bit easier, or to make sure you kind of followed through with it? So maybe you would change up how frequently you tracked. Maybe you would change the days that you did your workouts because it affected your hunger, something like that, okay? Number 3, was it worth it? And the second part to that, so leading into number 4, meaning, did the effort you put in equal the results in return? So was it worth it? Like, the amount of effort that you put in, was that worth the results? So if you're putting in a ton of effort, but you're feeling exhausted, moody, frustrated, bloated, fatigued, like, that's clearly not worth it, right? But if you're putting a ton of effort and you're feeling really good and confident and, you're not bloated and you feel energized, like, now the question is, like, is what you're putting in, does that equal up? Like, is that worth it? And then, this is not part of this, but I'll just say in general, the thing that my clients love is that they're putting in like minimal effort, right? Because we're working on small changes and they're getting really, really awesome results. So if you could achieve that, you know that you are in the gold. Okay? That means keep doing what you're doing. So if you could put in minimal effort to get a lot in return, that's really, really awesome. But at the same time, if you need to put in, a large amount of effort and you get a lot of results, then you kind of decide like if you're able to kind of keep up with that pace and you want to keep that up. Okay. So question number 5, what parts did you like about it that you could implement today? So like I said, there's going to be components to it that probably were super helpful to you. Is there a way that you can mimic that? Maybe some of these programs came with group support, and maybe you thrive better with a support group. So maybe you join, I have my Healthy Living support group on Facebook, but maybe just the group that you were a part of just the messaging wasn't aligned with you, but you also do like the idea of having an extra layer of accountability. So maybe you join a support group, okay? Number 6, what will you miss if you don't have it? Okay, so very often, I'll use the example I use in my book. Some programs out there share about you're not allowed to have coffee, you're not allowed to have wine, you're not allowed to drink or whatever. Like, honestly, obviously, excessive amounts of caffeine and excessive amounts of alcohol is something we want to pay attention to. That's probably either dangerous, harmful, or, you're neglecting a deeper issue, right? So if you need tons amount of caffeine, you're probably overworking, over fatigued, super tired, and that's definitely not going to help you, in the long run. And then obviously if you're drinking excessively, there's a lot of complications to that. It's maybe you're ignoring bigger issues if you're dealing it to cope with emotions, or if you're doing it as socially, but you're drinking excessively, it's going to obviously affect your liver, but also it's just going to affect your sleep, and it's going to affect your overall health. And if weight management is important to you, then obviously we can't expect to do that in excess. At the same time, I know personally, I love coffee. I'm not willing to go without it. So if I don't have coffee, or if I don't have a glass of wine, I like wine, with my dinner, or a glass or two on the weekends, that's not something I'm going to stick to long term. So the next question to that is, so what will you miss if you don't have it? The next question to that is number 7, is there a way to incorporate those things moderately? So how many servings of alcohol will you have in a week? Will you have, a small glass every other day? Will you have a few glasses on the weekends? Can you just stick to maybe 1 cup of coffee a day? Because when you have your coffee in the afternoon, you notice that it, makes you sleep and stay up later, makes it harder for you to sleep and you stay up later. Is there a way that you can incorporate those things just in moderate amounts? A big one that comes to mind is a lot of people go no carb or super low carb. It's no, you can have carbohydrates. You need carbohydrates. But maybe you're having too much of those refined carbs, the ones that are high in added sugar. And the question is, how can I incorporate those moderately? Well, what I teach my clients is incorporate more of the complex carbohydrates, the ones that are higher in fiber. Fill about a quarter of your plate with things like sweet potato for one meal, maybe oatmeal for another, and maybe, brown rice in another, but it's just a quarter of your plate, so you're still having it, but you're not having it in excess. And those are healthier sources of carbohydrates. So when you incorporate more of the complex sources and you keep them present at all of your meals, then you're going to feel more satisfied, and your cravings for the refined carbohydrates, so the things like, soda, juice, candy, cookies, although you can incorporate those, you're probably not going to want them as much, and you'll learn how to have them in an amount where, your body actually needs them, so they won't become an excess. So that's one strategy, but you have to figure out what works for you. So question number 8, what parts of your life got easier? And then question number 9, what parts of your life got harder? So was it harder to go out to eat? Was it easier to get dressed in the morning? Was it easier to wake up in the morning? Was it harder to wake up in the morning? What parts of your life got easier and what parts got harder? And then the last question is literally the most important one. and it's number 10. So the question is, did you like the person you were when you were doing it? Okay? Were you annoying and irritable and all you could talk about was food in your workout? Or was exercise and eating well kind of part of your life, but not all of your life, okay? Were you happy, confident, energized, kind? Or were you self-centered and a brat? Like, honestly, like there's so many times where we can do certain diets and our body starts to change and our ego just like goes all the way up, and it's like, then you become like judgmental of other people. You look down on other people. Like, that is not why we want to be healthier, right? That is not what we want out of this, right? I hope that you're doing this to just be a better person overall, to be kinder, to be wiser, to spread joy, to spread love, to, be free from the chains that have held you back, which is just these obsessive thoughts about, your eating. So if you're eating healthier, but you're still obsessed about what you're eating, and you still feel guilt and shame for eating anything outside of your quote unquote plan, like, you didn't fix it. You're not done. Okay. You're going to have to keep going. All right, so I'm going to repeat the 10 questions again. I'll go a little bit quicker, and feel free to reach out to me if you have any further or additional questions about these. So question number 1, would you do it again? Question number 2, if so, what would you change? Question number 3, was it worth it? Question number 4, did the effort you put in equal the results in return? Question number 5, what parts did you like about it that you could implement today? Question number 6, what will you miss if you don't have it? Question number 7, is there a way to incorporate those things moderately? Question number 8, what parts of your life got easier? Question number 9, what parts of your life got harder? And question number 10, the most important one, did you like the person you were when you were doing it? I'd love to hear your perspective on this. Definitely feel free to email me, tipswithtony@gmail.com, screenshot it, share it on your story, tag me at tips_with_Tony with an I, or the Tips with Tony podcast. That is it for me today. And if you are looking for individualized care, you want to be able to go through these questions with a nutrition professional, someone who's done this for many, many years and can really help kind of speed launch your way into learning from all the lessons and getting you to this place of food freedom, go to www.tipswithtony.com/coaching to watch a video about my one-on-one nutrition program. Fill out the application below it. Once I receive your application, we'll book a discovery call, make sure you're a good fit. And if you are, I will invite you to work with me in 2021 to create your individualized plan for a lifetime. All right, guys, that is it from me today. I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time.